Where's the folks who were on
Yeah,
before? I
so
want them
the
back on.
checking the settings, but don't see um, anything that looks wrong, and the volume and mic and camera seem to be working fine.
All right. Let's go ahead and get cracking. Um, Thank you for joining us. Institute for Democratic Education in America for our virtual IT Camp 2014. You have just entered into the Making Connection session. During this section, we're going to be playing a game kind of like telephone, except the news will be are connecting amongst, or helping to connect us together. Dana will kick us off. Well, not kick us off. He'll give us the instructions, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Take us away, Dana.
All right. Thank you, Crystal. So this is the virtual game of telephone/connection making and having fun while doing so. The way we're gonna do it is to have folks share. It's gonna begin like a kind of a chain of connections, and so we'll start with someone sharing about a person or an organization or an event or a campaign, maybe sharing a little bit about it, kind of your kind of context or connection into it, just giving a little bit of background, and then what happens next is that it's open for someone else to say, oh, yes, I know you're talking about this event, and I know someone who was there with this group, and they do this and this and this and this, and they're really great because of this. And then someone else will say, oh yeah, and I heard about them because of this other organization that does this, or this other person who does this. So that's the kind of way we're just going to kind of connect and go from one to the next, and see where the connections take us. So just a game of connecting. So glad you're all here, and we're going to get going. Again, just once you hear if someone's going to share a name or an organization or an event, you hear it and you have a connection to make with someone else you knew or something else, then you can just speak right up and share that. And we've got, if you're watching through other channels, not live, then you can be sharing as a question, a comment. You can tweet. I think there are people amazingly keeping track of all these various sources at the same time. So, so let's begin. Crystal, I believe you will be up for beginning us, and then others can, after Crystal, unless someone else strongly says I want to begin. But Crystal, if you want to begin, and then it's open for others to join in and make a connection and tell a little story, and then we'll continue like that. So Crystal.
No problem. So, quick question, Dana. Do I pass it after I share what I have to say?
I will see how it goes, but you know, the thought or hope is that someone else will pipe up with a connection after you share something in a little story, and then we'll go like that.
Gotcha. Okay. So I guess one of the stories that I can share is, of course, something that's probably the most recent event or large event that I participated in and helped out with. Freedom Summer 50th. I helped out with the Freedom Summer Youth Congress. We did have staff persons and folks from IDEA there. The Youth Congress is pretty much the youth component for the 50th anniversary. And they had a lot of groups from many different areas, 23 states, including 23 states and Puerto Rico, a bunch of cities, people coming from as far as, I think the farthest person who came, the farthest person came from Puerto Rico, but we had folks from Wisconsin, California, Oregon, New York, Vermont, so on and so forth. So two of the youth that I became the closest with, or came very close to, was Trey Murphy, who is a part of the Baltimore Algebra Project, and Amatullah Marvin, who is with the Boston Area Youth Organizing Project. And these two young people pretty much work to organize all of their youth from their areas to come down to Youth Congress. And they're both also working with the National Student Bill of Rights, which is a campaign that they've been working on for a couple of years, which I'm excited about and in full support of. And the Bill of Rights, one of the main aspects of it is making sure that all children and youth have equal and adequate education, and that have that as a right, versus just something that they don't have. So yeah, that's my story. I think they inspire me a lot, the two of them, both Trey and Amatula, because they're both under 25 and live, breathe, eat everything, the work that they believe in and the work that they do. Yeah, and they're also part of the Freedom Side Coalition, which is a organization of Black and Brown youth fighting against and focusing on different areas as it pertains to education, civil rights, voters' rights, workers' rights, voter registration, and things like that. So that's my story.
Thank you, Crystal.
No problem.
So yeah, so now the way the game works is that if that sparked any story for you, or if you were following events during Freedom Summer, or if you know about Freedom Side, or if the ideas of what Crystal was sharing about are interesting or exciting, or spark some story or something for you, then this is the time to come up and share what you have to share, and we'll keep going like that. So if you're watching live, you can kind of just speak up and start talking. Right here, if you're on the live hangout. If you are watching live, I believe Crystal can help me. I think the question box, Q&A box, is probably the place to put in a comment there, and we can read that out, and we'll share that for you. So, open call for next story and connection.
This is Scott. I'll share one. After Freedom Summer 50th, in Portland, the Dignity in Schools Coalition came to Portland at the invitation of the Portland Parent Union. Portland Parent Union is about it's many years with some different names, but it's an effort led by a woman named Sheila Warren, an African-American elder in Portland. And they're a Dignity in Schools partner focused on ending the school-to-prison pipeline and kind of stopping suspensions and putting forward solutions. And Ms. Sheila will be joining the IDEA organizing team, and also will be in Puerto Rico for the Learning Breakthrough Series, which is very exciting. But they had a gathering at Portland Public School District where the school board and leadership opened up the school board room meeting for a Dignity in Schools national gathering. I got to watch a really beautiful presentation, and I'll link notes into the document, of these different teams from across the country who are working on different campaigns. But the fun connection was that there was probably 8 people there who were all at Freedom Summer 50th, including the national lead organizer, Fernando. And it was fun to have had the common experience of having to been there in relationship to work moving through Dignity in Schools, and then for that to connect into Portland, and that to connect with IDEA's Place-Based team go into the Breakthrough Series. So there's my connection.
Excellent. Thanks, Scott.
We don't have anything coming in on Q&A yet, Dana.
I'll go next.
Great. Hi, thanks.
Hi, I'm James Tollison, currently in Mississippi, from North Carolina and the Bay Area. I guess my connection is I also attended the Freedom Summer Conference, and actually pulled some students along with me for part of it that were from Greenwood, Mississippi, which is where I am right now. I am serving through an organization called Food Corps. I'm not sure if y'all are familiar with it, but it's a nonprofit organization around the country trying to connect kids to real food through school gardens, and then also trying to do some local procurement into cafeterias. So basically trying to, it's sort of a mini local economic development part of it as well, in addition to education about the food system. And I guess to toss it to another connection is I was excited at our national orientation to find out that another Food Corps service member in Detroit, which was where I kind of got really into the looking at food justice and food sovereignty issues, is going to be serving at the Boggs School, which is I've had been sort of keeping my eye on that school because of hearing interesting things about what they were doing. So I'm hopeful that hoping to make it back up to Detroit because I haven't been in a few years, and I want to hopefully visit the school and see how the Food Corps service member is working with them, seeing what they're doing.
Nice.
So I'm going to jump back in.
James.
So I met James this summer, and James, I hope you don't mind me putting your business out there. James dates Sabrina Palms. And Sabrina Palms, I know her older brother, David Palms, who lives in D.C., through work that I used to do with the Children's Defense Fund, Youth Advocacy Leadership Training. So both Sabrina and David were at the Freedom Sunday celebration as well. And they all do a lot of work around education, democratic education. And James, I finally moved to Mississippi, so I'm here too. So I'm hoping we can connect very soon.
Yeah, definitely. Looking forward to it.
James, do you have a link to the food course so that we can follow along with it or follow it?
Yeah, it's just about to be posted.
Nice. I was looking it up as we were. I was looking up, found the website, and looking really good stuff. Thanks for these. These are fun connections. You of course are mentioning the Boggs School, and so just in terms of connecting, I've considered myself quite lucky and fortunate to have some time to spend and learn from and with some of the folks who've been starting that Boggs School. Spending time in Detroit a couple years ago. I know a couple others on this call have been in Detroit more recently than I have, so could maybe give even more of an update. But I'm really incredibly excited about their work, bringing place-based education right into and being inspired by all the work of Grace Lee Boggs, of course, and what they're doing there in Detroit. And so yeah, so lots of fun. Shared appreciation for their work as well, James.
Cool, yeah.
I'll share another quick connection, which is an upcoming gathering in Detroit. James, this may be the excuse you're looking for to head back up there. Okay. I'll grab a link in a second, but the New Work, New Culture gathering, October, I want to say 30-31, maybe the 1st of November, the Boggs Center and a number of different groups from food justice to economic development groups have put together a gathering really looking at kind of what are the models for new economy and new relationship, and it weaves education, food justice, economic development together for a couple days gathering in Detroit. And so I'll toss the link up to that. But yeah. Fun connections in Detroit, and it sounds like, James, you've got a connection to go check out the Boggs School, but if not, the folks who organize the school are good friends and feel part of the IDEA family and network, and happy to make a more direct connection if it's helpful to set up you to get to go visit there.
Yeah, I definitely am eyeing that conference. I got a
oh yeah, nice.
That was the implicit thing that I might be going to. Yeah, cool. I would actually love to make a more direct connection to the Boggs School. That would be great.
Yeah, awesome. If you want to shoot an email that just says like the date and times of when you're planning to go, we can forward it and make a connection to Marisol, Julia, Amanda, folks who are involved there, so they can know that you're coming and connect with you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Awesome. It's a small world after all.
So we can keep going in this direction of connections. And we were from anything from Bog School to Food Justice to Mississippi Freedom Summer, or we can go in new directions, especially with new people on the call. Welcome back, Natasha. And we're in the middle of making connections, and so if you want to continue in some of these same directions we've gone on, share a little story or a connection to any of these people or ideas, or if anyone wants to go in any different direction, start a new thread of connections. So open for that too.
I heard Scott earlier on the previous call talking about Natasha's new role. I would like to hear more about that, Natasha.
So, yeah, I'm currently the coordinator for the Coalition for Educational Justice. So we've had coordinators in the past, but they were usually Annenberg staff that helps to support the work of CEJ and of parent leaders. So this is the first time that a coordinator has come from the parent leader role and has like climbed those ranks, so to speak. So it's new and it's weird and fun all at the same time.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been a great transition. It's still trying to work out like how are you like do the work and still kind of like as a coordinator, but still in this dual role kind of world where I'm still like a parent leader and I still have like 2 little black boys and I'm still scared all the time, but I'm a coordinator too.
Okay. I feel you on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a small world because although Natasha wasn't at in Mississippi this summer for the 50th, Maria Fernandez, I didn't know until I saw on Facebook that you all, collaborated and worked together.
Yeah.
I met her the first day I was there. So awesome, folks. And she's transitioning.
She is transitioning. So she was the coordinator, and now she's transitioning out, and UIC, the Urban Youth Collaborative, is getting a new coordinator that I'm not allowed to say who yet.
Okay. It's live.
We will wait to hear. The millions of people are watching right now, so that sounds exciting and fun. Yeah.
I'm checking the Q&A to see if we have any other additions.
Going a different direction,
yeah,
but connected to UIC and CEJ. There's an interesting constellation of groups that I think maybe there's some sharing of money. Natasha, you could tell me, but there's an Education Justice Network that is getting connected. That is of course there's probably more than 5 of them, but there's the Alliance to Reclaim Our Schools, the Opportunity to Learn campaign. I think Journey for Justice is considered part of the Alliance for Reclaiming Our Schools in this particular constellation. I'm not sure. Annenberg Institute for School Reform, which is a kind of provider and supporter of CEJ and UIC. I must be forgetting someone else, but they're all kind of connected together. And this last week, IDEA staff had a joint call with the OTL staff, which was really awesome. So we took their national staff and our staff, and we did a joint call where we shared what everybody's up to, the work that we're on, the connections we're making. We had a lot of fun. And we found a whole bunch more connections in ways that we can jam and support each other's work. And so just another story to tell us about something that's moving and connections happening.
So I think I have a question about connections. So, and it might not be related at all. I do that sometimes.
Yeah.
So I actually have a friend. I have friends in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, who are really interested in this work, but can't seem to find anyone to be connected to actually like carry out some of this work. And everyone I asked, they're like, Oklahoma, we don't know anyone in Oklahoma. So do any of you know anyone in Oklahoma?
I love that you asked that.
Great question. Great question for now. That's really perfect.
Yay!
I know I'm doing a little searching because nothing's coming right away. I don't know if anyone else has Oklahoma contacts or friends.
I'm going to look at the one that pops in my head is that SRI might have an affiliate in Oklahoma, so I'm going to go look there. School Reform Initiative with not the best title, but a really good organization.
Poor thing.
Yes, poor organization.
Given
Chose
the way
the term
that
at the
School
wrong
Reform is
time.
used as a word now, it's like their title is not what it was when it, but
What
it's
it was before.
the whole thing. But I'll look there while we're talking. But I don't know anybody off the top of my head.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah. I don't know anyone personally either, but I do know that they are running some freedom schools in Oklahoma City last time I checked. And I can try to link you with those folks within sometime this week. I'm gonna write it down because I don't know the exact sites where they're having them, but I do know that they do have some freedom schools there. The reading programs through the Children's Defense Fund. Some things there.
Cool. Thanks.
No problem.
There are a few names that are coming up in our sort of our back-end system Batchbook, which we use for our contact management. So people who've signed up for wanting to get updates from IDEA. So I'll send some names to you, Natasha. There's a few that have come up.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, are your boys here?
Mm-hmm.
They hungry?
Probably.
So a lot of good.
Natasha, tell her I am too.
Natasha, quick look. Dana found the only thing that the SRI didn't have anything, and I also Google searched IDEA's library of programs and models and policies, and we didn't get anything there either. So this small group of people that Dana found in our database may be the group to get connected and figure out what's going on. There's got to be something happening. So we need to learn. We need to learn.
Cool. Forward it all to me.
All
I'll
right.
take it all.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And yeah. So we got a few more minutes here for any more connections.
I have a question kind of like that.
Yeah.
If I could.
Go for it. Yep.
See if someone else has a connection. So Sabrina, who Crystal mentioned, who would probably be on this call too, except she's at work, is interested in the field of bilingual education. And so she's kind of looking into schools and opportunities to pursue that. Wondering if anyone has connections in that field, dual language, or ESL, but more so dual language is her interest.
And her interest is specifically just a little more is looking for contacts, people to talk to about it, looking for places to work, locations. Yeah.
Really, any and all of that, jobs or schools, professors, teaching programs.
You got it.
Yeah, well, is Spanish the assumption is that the other language is Espanol? Yeah. The first point I think there's a lot in this territory, but the first one that jumps out to me, Chris, are the Guajardos, and work in South Texas, and specifically Miguel Guajardo. It depends on what vein of work she wants to do, but Miguel and Francisco Guajardo are two academics who've used their university positions to try to unlock community engagement processes with a big focus on bicultural identity development and language, but really looking not just at language, but about leadership and reclaiming kind of cultural knowledge and wisdom. And the particular project that Francisco's leading is a center training people in these kind of projects in territory. So I'll have to track down some links for you for that vein of connections. I also think that the work that on a maybe not quite a direct connect, but around Dr. Angela Valenzuela, also in Texas, the policy center is the one that's stuck in my head, but there's also more of a teacher practice center aspect of her work. The policy center is called the Center for Engaged Policy. Natasha, you might be interested in that because it's around, if you don't already know it, it's about engaging parents and community leaders in the policy process and making it accessible and tangible. But there's a teacher practice side to that, which is much more around kind of this idea of like, it's not even, it's like ESL, but at its next level of evolution, really. It's like how to really engage that as a powerful identity. And then the teacher urban leadership residency programs in both Chicago and maybe I have to check out Newark, but definitely in Chicago, they have a really strong focus on like English as a second language around kind of urban residency programs, and they may be interesting. That's my first run. I don't know if other people have stuff.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Any other recommendations for James? There's lots. You could probably do some searching also in Idea Library wise for some things that might show up in terms of dual language schools. I just know here in Minneapolis there's there's lots of certainly bilingual schools are not uncommon, but in terms of their practices and approaches that are kind of in a real kind of exciting way. I know that there's actually starting a school. It actually would be trilingual, but it would actually be English and Dakota and Ojibwe language, started by Native Americans here in Minneapolis, and so they're starting that school and doing some really powerful thinking about what place-based education looks like, along with bilingual learning, and so some can definitely set up some contacts there.
Okay. Cool. Thanks, y'all.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And look at Crystal, I think we're at time. I think you are wisely keeping us right on time. So I turn it over to you. Are we closing out the session then?
We are going to close out, but hop on for some fun for our open air hangout, which is a space with no real agenda, but to talk about anything, idea, and any questions or answers that we may have or need. So thanks for joining us, and hope to see you in a few seconds or minutes.
Thanks all.
Thanks.
Thanks.